So we just got through watching Vars's Himiko video, which I have no idea if I'm going to include like some of the reaction in here or not. I might, depending on how lazy I am. But main point being is that I do genuinely wish more players. Maybe it's fair. It's fair for me to say the game, right? I feel like I would rather the game force or implement different mechanics or different, not even game modes, just enemies or actions, team enemy construction, whatever. I would like them to do that so that there's more focus on characters and their roles, what they're efficient at, versus, hey, this character has damage, they have good multipliers, throw them in the main DPS role. In the video where he was going over Himiko, there were some things that I did agree with, but some, if not most of the things being spoken about regarding Himiko, I disagreed with. And it wasn't because, oh yeah, Himiko's, you know, bottom tier DPS character. No, I don't disagree with that in a sense. I disagree with the forced concept that Himiko needs to be the main DPS character. And with Ron-Mei being in the game now, it makes even more sense for her to fall under the sub DPS role, or even the break effect or breaker role, however you want to say it. I feel like that's where Himiko lies, to be completely honest, because that's genuinely what makes more sense to me. Her being a main DPS with the way her kit is supposed to function doesn't make any sense. We're forcing it at this point. And even with, I think on the screen, I'm looking at it now, even on the screen for Vars here, he's got Huo, Bronya, Ting Yun, and Himiko. He's forcing the hypercarry. And I get it, right? We're all like, oh yeah, man, hypercarry, this and that. And like hypercarry is the strongest comp. And you know, you can clear MOC 1,000,000 in a 1.5 cycle with hypercarry. But if you use dual DPS, it takes you 3 cycles. Like that doesn't make something perform better or worse. You're just pumping the shit out of the damage, right? Because getting those cycles, like if we keep it in a buck, right? Getting the 0 cycles is not something that people are consistently doing. If their Ting Yun gets hit, they're dead. If they don't get hit in the first place to get the energy for turn 1 ults, then it ruins the entire cycle. There's a lot of things about 0 cycling that aren't talked about or aren't shown because we only show you the results. We only show you the successful as close to a 0 cycle possible, right? That's what we show off. But when you're sitting there watching us on stream aim for the 0 cycle and we're on attempt number 30 before it makes it to YouTube, the other 29 attempts were attempts for a reason. I don't believe Himiko needs to be hypercarried. I don't believe a lot of characters need to be hypercarried. In fact, I'm hot take, I feel like Yang Xing might fit better in a sub DPS role, but that's for a whole different day. It's for a whole different day. People in general aren't even 3-starring. Yeah, the new MOC right now, Sarah's right. The new MOC is pretty difficult for a lot of players, especially free to play. And I feel as though if you just remove the concept of hypercarry from your team building and replace it with actual team building. But again, this might just be the way that I think about this is very similar to Pokemon, right? Pokemon, I could build nothing but aggressive Pokemon. I could have a team of what, Gengar, Zoroark, Salam, and all the dragon types are bulky, so I can't really say that. Haxorus, Charizard, Y, and whatever else I wanted. I don't know, Zangoose. I could throw a Zangoose in there and then a Beedrill. And all of those Pokemon have little to no bulk in comparison to the other Pokemon that might have similar stats. But my goal is to bum rush my enemy. I just want to like blitz them with speed and power. I could do that. The moment I lose one of them, though, it completely changes the way that I have to play the game. And Pokemon is obviously a little bit more complex because they're swapping in and out. And, you know, I have like Protect, I can defend myself, or evasive moves. And Star Rail doesn't have that. But in Star Rail, team building as a concept should still be, that's a skill that I feel like players don't know. Like they don't really fully understand team building. And I'm not saying this in a way like I'm superior and I'm mega minding on the shit and I know everything. I don't mean it that way. I just mean that it should not have taken us to get to version 1.6 for players to understand and be aware of how powerful break effect is. There were so many players in my comment section and other people's comment section on Twitch who had no idea what the fuck break effect even did. They were so confused on what it did. They didn't even pay attention to it as a stat. At one point, no one knew the majority of players had no idea how speed was going to work in the game. So there's things like that. And when you learn about how you influence speed or how you speed tune with your, Bronya, right? I want to speed tune certain characters around Bronya or Yukong or even Ron May now at this point. I want to make a fast Himiko or a slow Himiko to have the most attack power as possible. Little things like that really come into play. So when you're building teams and I'm looking at someone with a Himiko on their team, why is Himiko your main damage dealer? Now she could be, right? But her kit, the way that it's structured, does not, like, her kit is nowhere near I'm a main DPS. That kit is not for main DPS at all. She is for clearing waves, beating or helping you beat down mobs, helping you beat down the main boss, and then capitalizing on breaks. So she's helping, she's getting her own breaks, and then you have the main DPS or single target usually, but we could use destruction, it doesn't really matter. They're focused on hitting those like the big dig damage. You know, I was just talking about this with Jingliu and Blade, in particular with Ron May. The reason I've been discussing something, basically break effect Blade is what I've been discussing. Consistent off-turn damage. Yes, exactly. I like that. I like that term. I'm going to start using that. The idea or concept that I have with break effect Blade, and I know it sounds crazy, but bear with me for just like a minute. Break effect Blade on a specific Ron May and Jingliu team, Blade is there. He's already doing his own damage because he's built on HP percent. His crit rate and crit damage are going to stay. You don't have to really mess with that. If it's, you know, a good ratio. Your speed is okay, but because of Blade's specific passive, his talent, and Jingliu triggering that, he doesn't really need the speed. It'd be nice, but he doesn't need it. Now, I would like his speed to be somewhere where he, like 134, right? Let's cap it at 134 so he can go 2 times on his own without anybody else's influence. So that's 2 times that you're going, which means every single cycle you could trigger Blade's talent, sometimes twice, depending on how many enemies are, you know, bullying Blade specifically. Adding break effect into Blade, who is helping clear off the toughness meter for Jingliu's damage on top of Ron May with the penetration. If you have E1, she has a defense reduction. If you have the light cone, you have the 36% damage bonus on top of that. The idea of this team is for Blade to beat down everybody on the field, or at least the main target, beat them down. They don't have any more shield, and then Jingliu can like capitalize on that, or she can freeze them, right? It really just depends. But more team concepts should really be focused on in that regard. Now, I said this a few videos back, which I think it was the one that I was talking about for like why no one understands how broken Ron May is because people didn't understand break effect. But I also said in that same video, with break effect in mind, if you, how do I word this? If you built for dual DPS, like if you prioritize the break effect, they don't need to do that damage. Like the break effect is going to do its own damage. You know, I don't know. It's really weird to me. It's really weird to me. I don't like it. But I genuinely would want that. I want more players, because the game's not going to do it yet. Eventually they might, but right now they're not. I would like us to start promoting, or at least explaining and pushing, team building as a whole, character roles as like role efficiency as a whole, and not everybody's a hyper carry. Have I tried break effect, energy regen, Welt, Ron May, and Fushwen Jing? Yes, not on side 2, but I did. You remember in that video, I explain that concept that Ron May and Welt would be really nasty together in terms of delay. So I have tested it out. I don't think I did it on side 2, but I have tested it out. Ron May and Welt are still super freaking disgusting. Anything with Ron May plus break effect, super freaking disgusting. I don't know why I said disgusting like that, but yeah, disgusting. In Himiko's case, before we wrap up this video, if you remove hyper carry, don't even think about Himiko as a hyper carry character. Put her on the sub DPS role or put her on the breaker role. As a breaker, because we look at it, you're right, like if you're looking at it from a, let's say you don't have Ron May, and you're looking at it as like, oh yeah, well it's still hyper carry because I would have Bronya, I would have, I don't know, Zila, I would have Pela, and then I would have Sustain. Well, truthfully speaking, Zila doesn't need Pela. I know it helps, it really does, but sometimes she doesn't really need it. She just needs the Bronya boost, or you know, Asta if you have that, Tingyun if you have that. If you allow your Harmony or Nihility character to help out the main DPS, and then just let your breaker break. If you built Himiko around break effect and you only let her break, like her job was not damage, it was to bully down the enemy and break their shields as much and as often as possible so that your main DPS could shoom and like murder whatever's going on. That is when you start getting a proper grasp of what I would consider good team building in Star Rail. Hypercarry works. It works great for what we're doing. It works because we as a collective are lazy. That's the best way that I could put that. The game has lazy intuition and design. The developers, they're not lazy, they're slow. The developers are slow. That's all it is. They're slow with what needs to happen in the game. And then we as players are lazy. I say lazy because we're looking for how to get the fastest clear as easy as possible. Every single time I mention hypercarry versus dual DPS, the very first comment I always get, never fails, someone comes in here, they don't watch the video, and then they say, well, hypercarry is superior, especially for free-to-play players, because we only need to build our supports and we only need to worry about one main DPS character. And as a free-to-play player, if we only have to focus on one main DPS character, then we could build that character and then we could share the supports between our DPS characters. Building 2 DPS characters for one team is asking for way too much as a free-to-play player. And I'm like, bro, the game's been out for almost a year. The game has been out for almost a year and you're telling me you only have two DPS characters? No, you're lying to me. And even then, don't build the bitch as DPS character. Build them as a break, right? Sushong is an amazing break character. She literally has extra break effect built into her kit. Hey, I'm Sushong, by the way, E2, 40% extra break effect. Here you go. You want some substats? Break effect. Here you go. Right? I have it in my traces. Here you go. Break effect. All I need is speed and break effect. And then bulk. HP, defense, speed, break effect. You're perfectly fine. That's such a stupid build. I want my Sushong. What about when Sushong doesn't break and she's not doing damage? That's not her job. That is not, everyone doesn't need to do damage. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Everyone doesn't need to do damage. That is not her job. You have a main DPS. Your main DPS character is so fucking strong, according to you, that you are already hyper buffing them. You are already giving them a nihility character and you're giving them a harmony character. 2 characters on your team that don't do anything besides boost the main DPS character. Remove one of them, add a break unit, and it takes stress off of your main DPS character to do their job. It just, I don't know. I don't understand why this concept of team building is so, it gets argued like so much. You guys, not you guys in chat, obviously, but you know, the people watching the video and the one who's getting ready to type this comment right now. Why do y'all argue against that? Why is that such a big deal to argue against proper team composition, to be able to build a team with dedicated goals in mind? Why is that an issue? Everything does not have to be hypercarry. I'm so tired. I don't even want to be like the anti-hypercarry messiah, because I feel like that's what it is right now, but it's not that. It's genuinely just y'all waste characters. Y'all will waste we got like what, 30 characters in a roster or something like that. Y'all waste half the roster because they can't do, oh man, Arlen's trash. Why is Arlen trash, bro? Because he can't do damage the same way as Jing Liu. All right, how did you build him? I built him for hypercarry and he's still not doing damage. Why? Like, why did you do that? Genuinely, what was the purpose? Well, because that's how you're supposed to build teams. Who told you that? Who told you that was the way? That's not the only way. Hypercarry is not the only way, guys. If we could collectively just push that fucking agenda, we'd be there. I'm right. Thank you. Yo, your name's Dragon Hokage. I just read that. Thank you, bro. Thank you. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me today. Hopefully y'all agree or whatever. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go back to streaming, and it is what it is. Smell you later.